Okay, we have learned that anything that becomes chametzik in a kli rishon, meaning a pot that's right on the fire, so the only way to get the chametz out of it, to kasher it, is in a kli rishon. So if you have a soup spoon that was went into a soup pot on the stove, the only way to kasher is to put it into a hagolas kalim, which is in a kli rishon. The pot itself is going to be difficult to kasher because you can't put it in itself. So either you have to find a bigger pot for it, or you have to take it to the park, and there they have big places that big gigantic pots that you can dip it in. But the principle is anything that became chametz with a kli rishon becomes kashered also through a kli rishon. There are certain things that's very difficult, even if it's a kli rishon, to put into a pot, even if you get a bigger pot. For instance, a table or your countertop. How are you going to take your countertop and put it into a pot of, how do you kasher your countertop? So the simple answer is, well, you never cooked with your countertop. Your countertop is probably not a kli rishon because you don't have a fire, although somebody just showed me at the end of the week that they're installing the whole shayish, the whole marble countertop, wherever is induction, and wherever you put the pan, that's where it cooks. So, okay. But on the other hand, he said there's no heat. You can put your hand there, nothing happens. So I'm not up with the technology, but it's just amazing that it's. But let's say for the rest of us, you have a countertop, so probably at most you're going to spill something from a kli rishon onto it. So that would be irui kli rishon. So the relatively easy way to clean that is irui kli rishon. You take something from your kumkum, as we explained, and pour it on it. However, there are times that your countertop can become a kli rishon. So for instance, I'll give you an example from your day, and also chametz is if you take something which is a davar gush. I'll give you an example. Let's say you take a challah. So a challah comes out of the oven. So because of what it is, it's a solid thing. It maintains its kli rishon value. Now let's say you put it on the counter, still didn't do anything too bad because something dry on something dry doesn't transfer. However, you'll see when you take the challah off, it's wet there. So now, I'm just giving a mini class into your idea. So now you have yavesh b'yavesh yesh b'neihem rotev, and in such a case, you have to kasher. But it's interesting now. Your counter is a kli rishon. I would imagine with your sink. Let's assume you have a stainless steel sink for a moment to make it easier here. I imagine this happens all the time because let's say you'll take a hot pot that's full of either spaghetti or some kind of pasta or chicken soup, and it's wet on the outside, or the sink is a little wet. You put it into your sink. So if you not pour it into your sink, but put it down into your sink. So now you probably made your sink kli rishon treif, because there you have straight from a kli rishon onto a kli sheyesh b'neihem rotev. If there's any liquid left, you make sure it's completely dry, but that's not likely because it's completely hot. How are you going to make it completely dry? And there's all kinds of chemicals. So now you have to kasher possibly your countertop and probably your sink if you put anything in there which is a kli rishon or wet. So you're going to have to kasher. So how do you kasher it? So the Shulchan Aruch tells us an eitzah. Which is a difficult eitzah that I find. The Shulchan Aruch says an eitzah, well, you do like this. If you can't put it in a kli rishon, bring the kli rishon to it. So how do you bring a kli rishon to it without pouring? He says take a stone and heat up the stone like a fire, like really very, very hot. What temperature it is not so much the important thing, but I mean it's important, but not for now. After you heat it up very hot, so it's like a fire. And now you're going to take the stone and put it on your kli rishon. So now you're doing a hagala in a kli rishon because you're going to take boiling hot water, pour it on the stone so it doesn't cool down the stone, and then you slowly move the stone along the shayish, and now you've kashered at least where you put your challah down or your wet pot down. You've kashered it with a kli rishon. Yes. So why it's not done as much as it used to be because it's turned out that there's been a lot of injuries by doing this, because people wrap the hanger around the stone and it breaks, and sometimes stones, when you put them on the stovetop to heat them up, if it's not the right kind of stone, it starts to throw, to explode. So easier way is to take a steam iron, which is a stone, a bigelizen, yeah? You take a steam iron, which is a stone, and iron your countertop. Especially good a steam iron, not as opposed to a regular iron, because now you've got boiling hot water and you've got 100% heat of a kli rishon. And now I don't think you could do this on a plastic countertop, but now by ironing your counter, you've basically done the stone thing, and you're 100% kosher. So if you have a solid stone, marble, granite, real stone, not a composite, which is kasherable, real stone is kasherable. So then this is, or stainless steel for that matter. So this is the best thing to do. Iron it. Iron it is the best thing with the steam iron, and keep on pushing it, keep it wet, keep it hot, and in 15, 20 minutes you have a kosher thing. It's very difficult, I find personally, practically speaking, to iron your sink. The sink is, you can iron the bottom, and the sink is the most likely to have some real chametz. So it's just very difficult to get around the sides. Maybe, I don't know, it's very difficult. So you have another eitzah for that, if you are so inclined. You can try the stone, but you're going to have the same difficulty as the iron. But what you can do is fill it up with water from a kli rishon, like straight from a kli rishon. So you pour it in. So now you have iri kli rishon, and then heat it up in the sink. How do you heat it up in the sink? So there's two easy ways. Number one is you take an immersion heater and you hold it there, and the water in the sink boils. So now you have your sink has become a kli rishon, and it's kosher. You have to clean it first, by the way, but then it's kosher. Another way, if you're more daring, is if you have a blowtorch and you just aim the blowtorch to the water for a minute or two, it starts to boil. If you can think of any other way, maybe lasers or some way to make the water boil. So the water is boiling, and then it's a kli rishon, and you've kashered your sink. And what that does is that alleviates the whole necessity, everything that I've said this morning, alleviates the necessity for covering your counter, covering your sink, or kitchen insert, like sink inserts, all those things you don't have to do, providing you have something which is kasherable. So one more time, let me say, a stainless steel is 100% kasher. Enamel sink, if you have one, might not be. And stone, like marble or granite, is kasherable. Once they take a stone and they grind it up in a machine, which is common now, it's cheaper, and then they put it back together, it becomes a new kind of a stone, some type of a composite, that the poskim say you may not be able to kasher. That's not even. That's something else. That's something else. So I'm talking right now about real stone, real stainless steel, real wood if you have a real wood countertop. And that's what you can kasher.